Nothing is more painful to the human mind than after the feelings have been worked up by a quick succession of events, the dead calmness of inaction and uncertainty which follows and deprives the soul both of hope and fear. Justine died. She rested, and I was alive. The blood flowed freely in my veins, but a weight of despair and remorse pressed on my heart, which nothing could remove. Sleep fled from my eyes. I wandered like an evil spirit, for I had committed deeds of mischief beyond description horrible, and more, much more, I persuaded myself, was yet behind. Yet my heart overflowed with kindness and the love of virtue. I had begun life with the benevolent intentions and thirsted for the moment when I should put them in practice and make myself useful to my fellow beings. Now all was blasted. Instead of the serenity of conscience which allowed me to look back upon the past with self-satisfaction, and from thence to gather promise of new hopes, I was seized by remorse and the sense of guilt, which hurried me away to a hell of intense tortures such as no language can describe. A state of mind preyed upon my health, which perhaps never entirely recovered from the first shock it had sustained. I shunned the face of man. All sound of joy and complacency was torture to me. Solitude was my only consolation, deep, dark, death-like solitude. My father observed with pain the alteration perceptible in my disposition and habits, and endeavored by arguments to deduce the feeling of his serene conscience and guiltless life, to inspire me with fortitude, and awaken in me the courage to dispel the dark cloud which broadened over me. "Do you think, Victor," he said, "that I do not suffer also? No one can love a child more than I loved your brother." Tears came into his eyes as he spoke. "But it is not a duty to the survivors that we should refrain from augmenting their happiness by an appearance of immoderate grief. It is also a duty owed to yourself, for excessive sorrow prevents improvement or enjoyment, or even the discharge of daily usefulness, without which no man is fit for society." This advice, although good, was totally inapplicable to my case. I should have been the first to hide my grief and console my friends, if remorse had not mingled its bitterness and terror its alarm with my other sensations. Now I could only answer my father with a look of despair, and endeavor to hide myself from his view. About this time we retired to our house at Belleville. This change was particularly agreeable to me. The shutting of the gates regularly at 10 o'clock, and the impossibility of remaining on the lake after that hour, had rendered our residence within the walls of Geneva very irksome to me. I was now free. Often, after the rest of the family had retired for the night, I took the boat and passed many hours upon the water. Sometimes, with my sails set, I was carried by the wind, and sometimes, after rowing into the middle of the lake, I left the boat to pursue its own course, and gave way to my own miserable reflections. I was often tempted, when all was at peace around me, and I, the only unquiet thing that wandered restless in the scene of so beautiful and heavenly, if I except some bat or frogs whose harsh and interrupting croaking was heard only when I approached the shore. Often, I say, I was tempted to plunge into this silent lake, that the waters might close over me and my calamities forever.